right, good morning. So what I'm going to do in this video is go over a modest proposal in Common Lit, which all of you were supposed to read and annotate yesterday. You were supposed to answer the guiding and assessment questions. I'll be grading those today, and then I will be releasing your feedback on Common Lit. So later on today, if you log in, you will see what I scored you on the short answers for the assessment questions, and you can also see if you got the multiple choice ones correct. All right, so again, I'm just going to walk you through kind of what I believe are the most important pieces of this essay. Obviously, you can decide for yourself what you think is the most important kind of passages and pieces. But again, I'm just going to walk you through the annotations that I made. All right, so again, it fortunately does not let you annotate anything as the actual text. Anything that's not the actual text of the essay. So I'll just walk you through the subtitle and the background information really quick. So again, this essay was written by Jonathan Swift in 1729, so almost 300 years ago. And in the kind of author information right here, it says he was an Anglo-Irish essayist, writer, and political pamphleteer. And the key part that I want to focus on is that he was Anglo-Irish, which means that he lived in Ireland, but he was kind of part of the ruling British class. So again, he was kind of both English and Irish. And that sort of dual identity is important to understand in this essay, because really the audience of this essay is kind of the upper class in Ireland at the time, who were technically British. So again, it's a little bit confusing, but that sort of audience and context is important. All right, and then just to go back to the subtitle really quick. So again, when I asked you to do your annotations, I said that first you should focus on the social issue, and then a hint is to read the subtitle. So it says in the subtitle, this modest proposal is for preventing the children of poor people in Ireland from being a burden to their parents or country, and for making them beneficial to the public. So we know right away that the issue is that there are poor people in Ireland, and specifically the children of those poor people are a burden, and that this proposal is going to be some sort of way to make them beneficial to the country and their families. All right, and then just from the title, a modest proposal, the speaker is kind of setting up right away his humility. So again, he's kind of saying like, oh, this is just my humble proposal. All right, so again, now I'm going to walk you through my annotations. So firstly, whenever you annotate, it's always good to make a key. What color means what? So this is my key over here on the left. So yellow is going to be the part where Swift is describing the social issue. Green is going to be the solution and support for it, details. And then red is going to be real life solutions, so not the satirical solutions like in Greek. Okay, so this first part in paragraph 1 is, again, describing the social issue. And the issue is not just that there are poor people in Ireland, it's that people have to see beggars who are asking for money. So again, we can see that the audience is, kind of these rich people who would maybe be annoyed to have to see beggars around. So again, the problem isn't just that there are people who are so poor they have to beg, but that rich people have to see these beggars. So again, what a problem. All right, then moving on to this later part of paragraph 1, again, the issue continues to be defined. So my annotation was, again, that children are not growing up to be useful members of society. So again, Swift describes them as helpless infants who grow up to be thieves or leave the native country. So again, they're not being useful to Ireland or England. All right. Moving on into paragraph 3, now Swift is starting to transition into his solution. So again, he is saying that at exactly 1 year old, I'm going to come up with a use for infants. Okay, so again, that's starting to transition. So I put it in green because he's starting to allude to his ultimate solution, which it has to do with babies when they turn 1 year old. All right, in paragraph 5, we see a lot of like numbers and logos. So again, we have, okay, there's 200,000 couples whose wives are breeders. This is sort of the beginning of dehumanizing language. So people who are poor and their children are described as breeders, and they're compared to cattle and swine. So again, a lot of the satire in this essay comes from Swift treating poor people as if they are less equal to rich people. All right. Again, Swift goes on to say in paragraph 5 that, again, the problem is that there are 120,000 children of poor parents that are annually born, and we don't know how they are going to be provided for. So again, this is, again, part of the issue he's describing. All right, now moving on to this paragraph, starting with, I shall now humbly propose my own thoughts. I believe this is paragraph 7. So again, this is his last transition before he gives his ultimate solution. And this right here where he says, oh, like I have an American acquaintance, this is a little bit of ethos because he's saying he knows somebody who has used this solution before. And now he finally gives us his proposed solution to this issue. He says, a young, healthy child, well nursed, is at a year old a most delicious, nourishing, and wholesome food. So again, it's a very matter of fact. So he's not like kind of saying like, oh, I know this will be hard, but it'll help us. He's just like, oh, well, this is the way it is. All right. And then again, he says, I humbly offer it to the public consideration. So he's, again, trying to demonstrate how humble he is and how this isn't really like his idea. It was his American friend's idea, and he's just proposing it. Okay. Again, we see a little bit more dehumanizing language right here. So we're comparing the infants to cattle, sheep, and swine. And then an important detail is that Swift doesn't want the poor people to eat their own children. He wants them to sell the infants to persons of fortune and quality. So he's almost saying that this is like a way for poor people to like raise themselves out of poverty, because again, like this is almost like an asset that they can make for themselves. So again, all these details are a little bit gross, but that's the point of this essay, is to kind of shock you. All right, moving on to paragraph 10. Again, another gross detail is that infants' flesh will be in season throughout the year because, you know, obviously people could have children at any time of year. And then this part at the end of paragraph 10, you might have missed this, is he's saying that basically there's kind of a stereotype that Catholics have a lot of children because they don't believe in any sort of birth control. And again, this existed for hundreds of years, so it certainly existed 300 years ago in Ireland. So when he says that it will lessen the number of papists among us, he's basically saying like, oh, because we will be eating the Catholics' children, there will be fewer Catholics, which will be great for us British people because, again, the British were Protestants, and there's kind of, you know, ongoing conflict between the Catholics and Protestants throughout the last 500-ish years. All right, so moving on to this next paragraph. Again, he gives a detail about like how much people would pay for the children. So again, kind of describing people as like things that can be bought is dehumanizing. Some more gross details in this next paragraph where it says that the skin of infants can be used as gloves and boots. He recommends that people buy the babies alive, which again is pretty horrifying. And then he alludes to his American acquaintance again here in paragraph 14. So again, using a little bit of ethos because he's saying, oh, like I have a friend who did this, so you can trust me, this works. All right. And then lastly, I find this part very funny in paragraph 14. So paragraph 14, he's saying why it wouldn't work out to sell and eat older children, so children as old as 14 or 12. He's saying, oh no, that would be a little bordering on cruelty. So again, this part is a little bit humorous and ironic because he's saying, oh, that would be cruel, not eating babies. All right, we're gonna skip a few paragraphs here, and this beginning in paragraph, let's see, 17, I think, is where he kind of very specifically says like, okay, here's my list of all the reasons why this proposal is so great. Okay, so again, reason number 1 is in paragraph 18. It will lessen the number of papists or Catholics. So again, that would be good for British people. It would help poor people actually pay their rent. So that's another reason. The nation's stock would be increased. So again, it would be good for the economy. And also a new dish would be introduced. So again, like what a delicious food these young infants are going to be. Fourthly, again, parents wouldn't have to pay any cost of raising their children after a year. And in fact, they would get paid for them. So it would be a financial help to poor families. Again, where it says fifthly, they're saying, yes, again, this will be a great new dish in our country. And then finally, he's saying it would get people interested in getting married so that they could start having babies to, again, start selling them. This is very ironic. It would increase the care and tenderness of mothers towards their children. So again, ironic because then you are selling your child to be eaten by a rich family. And then again, of course, we have some more dehumanization here. So again, men would become fond of their wives as they are of mares in foal and cows and calf and sows when they are ready to farrow. So again, comparing pregnant women to pregnant animals. And then here it says that men would be less likely to beat or kick their wives for fear of a miscarriage. So again, kind of introducing a separate problem of domestic violence, but that's okay because men would be less likely to beat their wives if the child that they were carrying was worth some money to them. All right, so again, at this point, we've kind of like fully explored Swift's reasons for why this proposal would be so logical. So then what he's going to do now, right towards the end of this essay, is introduce his actual kind of solutions to the problem. So again, you kind of have to think of like the speaker is not necessarily Jonathan Swift. The speaker is kind of this person who's like, oh, I have this great idea, but he doesn't actually, the real Jonathan Swift does not actually want people to sell their babies to be eaten by rich people. All right, so again, in this paragraph right here, let's see, I think it's paragraph 27, where it says, therefore, this is where he's truly introducing his list of like realistic solutions. So he says, let no man talk to me of other expedients. And if you look up this word, it means solutions. All right. So again, don't talk to me about taxing people or introducing these sorts of things, or like learning to love our country, or like being cautious, or like putting a spirit of honesty, interest, and skill into our shopkeepers. So again, don't talk to me about like other ways that people can lift themselves out of poverty, or like better policies that we can introduce to help poor people, like again, taxing people. So again, he's like, don't talk to me about any of those. And then you might have noticed that there's a little bit of an anti-Semitic line in the middle of this paragraph. So again, that's just kind of typical of the time period. But again, he's saying like that if rich people were to be less greedy and selfish and pay more taxes, and we were to introduce different policies to help the poor people of Ireland rather than the rich British just keeping all the money for themselves, then we wouldn't have to discuss this other crazy thing of eating the babies, right? So then again, he says, let no man talk to me of these and the like expedients till he has some glimpse of hope. So again, he's saying like, oh, we can't talk about any of those because those are never going to happen because the rich British are too selfish and greedy. All right. And then again, this is another example, paragraph 30, of him kind of telling us how humble he is. Like, oh, like, I don't care if we like go with my solution. This is just one option. So again, he's like, oh, like, my opinion isn't the best, but if it makes sense, let's go for it. All right, and then finally, the last paragraph I just find funny because he's saying why his proposal does not apply to him, because he says, I have no children by which I can propose to get a single penny because his youngest child is 9 years old and his wife is past childbearing years. So in other words, he would never have any of his children that were sold for food. All right, so I hope that that helps, and you're welcome to go back through your own annotations and kind of see if you notice the same things that I pointed out. You certainly do not have to have the exact same annotations as I did. And if you have any questions about any specific passages, just go ahead and let me know. I can help you kind of break down what he's saying. All right, for today's assignment, you're going to head over to my website. So again, if you don't know how to get to my website yet, you can go to Aries and click visit website next to my class. And you'll see that I'm going to post this video right here under Wednesday Watch. And then today's assignment is I want you to write a paragraph that discusses the aspects of soapstone in a modest proposal. And you're going to turn it into me via either email, Google Docs, whatever, or on Remind is fine as well if you want to just write it out on paper and send me a picture. Okay, so again, I want you to discuss all 6 aspects of soapstone in a modest proposal. So I believe I talked a little bit about the audience and occasion at the beginning of this video, so hopefully those can help you out. You can also do research if you want, but I really want you to
kind of figure it out mostly for yourself based on your reading and annotating from yesterday. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop here. So if you have any questions, again, reach out, and tomorrow we will continue doing work with satire and a modest proposal. So I will see you all hopefully tomorrow. Bye.